This junkie hoe, government grants, fraud, funding, screaming outside for money from the government grants fraud.
Yeah, and that's how we feel about you guys.
Oh, something happens inside of you every time you look at that. I mean, it's the same type of just hurt.
A bit of information taken, but 12:45. A very normal daily occurrence in this unit is that the housing manager sends people an eviction warning the day they move in, the month they move in, to evict the tenants, the good tenants. While giving people like me a bad name, they put these people here on the payroll. These people are getting paid to scream, to cause problems, to make life, like, it's called constructive eviction. He's out there screaming every day, nothing happens to them. And you just saw the date, 26th of September. Hear that screaming? They're getting paid by the people who are getting, the private citizens, the private individuals getting paid to get government grants funding for these units. The private individuals. They pay these people here to the old tenant that was there, sent me an eviction. The month I moved in, she made a complaint that got me, I nearly got evicted the month I moved in. If I didn't prove that she was running a racket, I'd have been evicted. And they moved this one in. This is their plant. I already proved that the other one that was living in her unit that I got to move away was a plant, and she's a plant. She gets funding. She gets money, bribes, payments, kickbacks to help cover up the fraud that they're running here. She's outside screaming every day. Told the real estate about it. They didn't even respond to me. Yet they sent me an eviction warning the month I moved in for disturbing the peace, privacy and comfort of neighbours. She's just mental, out there screaming mentally. Criminally. Every day. She's getting paid by the people who are getting government funding for these units to do that. If people like her, they give people like me a bad name because I live in government housing. And their motto is they don't get funding if you succeed or it's good, or people become housed and then happy and then secure and then establish themselves in their own stable housing. They want it. Failure is the only way they keep getting money. Success isn't an option. So they've got this person on the getting money from the government fraud funding for these units, paying her to scream, standing outside screaming every day. Absolutely, she screamed about 5-6 times today already. She got out of the car, or I heard her screaming before. Her screaming. She's fuck, scream fuck, for no reason. She's fucking doing this every day. She stands out there swearing on record for 8 hours a day. I recorded her screaming for 8 hours a day, standing out there in 1 hour block, screaming, swearing. Called the police, and they get up there and she goes, "It doesn't make any sense." She didn't then say she stopped because I was recording. But now she's doing it again. She wants to be on record doing it again. Because obviously she only gets paid if she's by the fraud if she's out there screaming. That's what she's getting paid to do. And they'll say, oh, she'll say, well, they support me. You know, for people who are getting funding for these units, you know, they're getting funding for these units. They support me. Of course they support her because they put her there to scream, to cause problems, and that's why they're paying her. They're running a racket, getting money to help the poor when it's only to help themselves, and preying on the poor and the needy and the vulnerable, making them poor. Satan, this is the Antichrist exposed. So here's the case where I have for the old neighbour that used to live underneath me. Whoa. This is the defamation case in Transmission Australia here. This is the proof. Here we've got the 23rd of April and we've got the time. And it comes up in the marker here when I made the recording. It's not coming up as it did before. So that's the time. 12:15 on the 23rd of April. And here, just pause that. 15 minutes later. Okay, so first off, got this video here. Now you want to hear that again, like I'm playing these. Why was I breached? Hang on, wait, listen. Got this video here. That's what this. Right, so disturbing the peace, privacy and comfort of neighbours. I was sent an eviction warning. That's the housing manager in her own words. I never screamed. Another tenant knocked on my door and I didn't answer the door. And they yelled at me for not answering the door, for protecting myself from what I knew was a criminal ring that they were trying to kick me out as soon as I moved in. Then I prove in this video, I said at the end of the call to the housing manager, I said to her, that neighbour underneath me, she's lying to kick me out. I referred to her by name. You can see it, see it here. This is a defamation case. About here. I say that neighbour by name is lying to try to kick me out. And then that neighbour was kicked out. There. There you see it? I referred to her for a couple of times. I referred to her by name and said that she's lying. This housing manager is getting funding for homelessness.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Cheryl underneath me told me that I pee too loudly and things like that, so I don't know if she put a breach in against me to get me in trouble for hours behaviour. I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the word. But she hasn't made any complaints about you peeing, no? No, yeah, but I'm just saying as soon as she's been a bit like that since I moved in, and I don't know if she was using Alan's behaviour against her. Julie, if there's anything new has happened, you're welcome to put in a ring.
Okay, and then I left the video recording after I spoke to that housing manager for 20 minutes. And it was just a recording of nothing for 20 minutes. And then after 20 minutes after that call, the person that I just spoke about to the housing manager has yelled at me from the street. You can see one video consecutive after the other. I called the housing manager in that 5-minute 59-second video, and then 19:30 I left the video recording after that call, just recording nothing. And you'll hear her yell out. I was speaking about a complaint to her about her here. Trying to protect her running racket. Here she's yelling at her. She can clearly be heard saying, I haven't spoken to you for over a month. Where have you been? That's 20 minutes after I just spoke to the housing manager and she says, I haven't spoken to you for over a month. I just said to the housing manager that she's lying to try to kick me out. I left the video recording 20 minutes after that call because they were trying to kick me out. I just moved in, I got set an eviction warning for nothing, they were lying. I knew that I was about to be homeless, and they were going to kick me out. Hasn't seen me though. So, I've got her on record 20 minutes after I just spoke to the housing manager about getting an eviction warning because of her complaint, and I said that she's lying to try to kick me out. And then that neighbour moved out, and I just got on video again, as I do every day. This underneath neighbour, that neighbour moved out, this neighbour moved in. She's getting kickbacks, she's getting bribes, she's getting paid by the housing manager, by the corrupt government funding for homelessness when they're causing the problems. Success is not an option, failure is the only option. They're going to put this junkie outside my house screaming every day, pretending that she's not screaming. She's only stopping. She'd be outside screaming 8 hours a day like she has for the last 4 years. She's only stopping because I've been recording her. She doesn't want to be caught on record. I've got her on record today. There's no point in her being in the criminal ring and getting paid. Why are they going to pay her if she's not even screaming? So she goes out there and she screams throughout the day, trying to avoid getting recorded because she can't just scream out there for hours at a time, because it'll just be on record. And it flips the whole thing. So instead of her getting paid to do this, I've got a fucking case to sue her. I've got a case, a criminal case. I've contacted the real estate, said she's outside screaming. They do nothing. But I get an eviction warning the month I moved in, and I never screamed. So her screaming, I've got her on record. Today, again, I've got her on record 8 hours a day, screaming. I've got her on record screaming nearly every day. And she's getting paid kickbacks from the corrupt government grants fraud to scream and make give everyone in the housing a bad name, because you can't live listening to that. But she's the psycho, and she's going, well, you can't prove it because the people who are getting funding for the unit say that I'm good. Yeah, well, they're all going to get sued privately for their failure, and these videos prove that.